Good morning, Mrs. Murder here. I'm here to tell you a little bit about Robert Galbraith's fourth novel in the four-part series, or four-book series, of Cuckoo's Calling. So I'll just set this book up here with, well, first I wanted to read something out of here. I'll set it up with the other three and you'll see all four of them there. Hopefully you've read one, two, or three of the first ones, and this is the fourth. In this book, the author says, for reasons not entirely related to the complexity of the plot, Lethal White has been one of the most challenging books I've written, but it's also one of my favorites. It is a fascinating book. It's the longest of the four books, covering the most pages, but all of them are black and Lethal White is white. But it's intricate, and if you like character-driven mysteries, she is excellent with her character-driven mysteries. You just have to follow Cormoran Strike through all of these, and Robin, his assistant, fellow detective, he's a detective in trainee. If you haven't noticed, I would read the books before I watched the series, which has just come out on HBO Max, because the books give you so much more detail and so much more in-depth knowledge of what's going on. There are things that have to be omitted when you're making a video because you assume people will see them, but for me, if I read it in words, it registers and I remember it longer than if it's a flash on the screen. J.K. Rowling, or Robert Galbraith, since that's her pseudonym in this, has come up with an excellent set of series, but it's hardcore detective. It's not for those who might be a little bit squeamish. But this one involves the Olympics coming to London, and it's about the corruption around the Olympic Committee and those who have different agendas for different things that are going on in the Olympics. But it also involves your upper echelon and some of the corruptions there, political corruptions in the ministers in the department of ministry, minister's department of sports, and so it kind of gets into some of the political as well as social. It's involving all of London. I wish I'd been to London, because then maybe when they're traveling through the streets and running through the streets in the videos, I always like to see mysteries in towns that are cities that I've visited, like I always like the DC and the New York, because you see places that you might have seen or visited, or that gives you a different perspective. It makes you feel like you're there. And anyone who's been to London will recognize a lot of the things that I, of course, don't recognize because I've either seen a video and it hasn't impressed me as much as if I had actually been there. But we don't need to be there to understand the mystery, to understand the importance of Cormoran's dedication and trying to track down this particular murderer. And another thing it does give the reader is I was annoyed to a certain extent by constant reference to his having an injured knee and how hard it was for him to get around, because he's walking every place because he can't afford to take a train, and taking the trolley, they don't call it a trolley there, but taking the street car, whatever they call them, public transportation, is questionable and jarring for his leg also, and he can't always get a seat. And, you know, just the pain that he goes through to make his personal treks from one end of London to the other reminded me that we have a whole lot more stamina and drive, and we have a lot more that we can do if we don't allow our inconvenience or our discomfort or our pain to bother us. But that's a really hard one, because pain is always reminding you that something's going on, and he has to constantly be careful of his knee, and it's very easy for someone to trip him up, push him down the stairs, that kind of thing. It's painful. It's a lot of challenging here. I don't want to give away any of the plot, but we've been through the ups and downs with Robin and her fiance, husband, back and forth. Is she going to marry him? Is she not going to marry him? And the strong bond between Cormoran and Robin. She really wants to learn everything she can about becoming a detective. It's been a lifetime dream because she came from a family of police officers. But Cormoran has limited funds, so he can't really... but this series, this particular book, he does hire another assistant, someone to do some of the legwork, which makes you feel better, and that makes for interesting stories too. Pick up the book, but I would advise reading them in order, and if you do watch it on HBO Max, I would advise read it also, because you'll find a whole lot more interest and detail and understanding of the depth of the characters she has developed. It's fascinating. I use that word too much, but it does definitely hold your interest and keep you going forward. Just march forward with this book, enjoy it, and until the next time, this is Murder saying, have a nice read. Bye.